Hello, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good.
Hello and welcome to the SC Ballers podcast. I'm your host and coach of the Terrace crew, Matt Ricks. We are well and truly on our way to the run home. We've had post-Origin 2 and we're leading into the third major bye in round 18 next week. But before that, we've got to navigate a surprisingly tricky round 17. Joining me tonight, all the way from London, it's former third place overall finisher, Danny Boy Ricks. Danny Boy, welcome back to the SC Ballers podcast.
Yeah, g'day, Matty. Good to be here. Hanging in this season. Hopefully make some moves back into this buy round now. We'll see.
How'd your yo-yo go up or down this week?
Very, very middling. Still in the top 1,000, 899. Hanging in there. Just feel the some of the pods for the buy rounds just didn't go off for me. Jamal Fogarty hitting the floor, Daniel Tupu being the lowest scoring centre wing when Roosters turn it on. But yeah, just still hanging in there and looking for a late push, even though trades are very, very hard to come or low at the moment.
I forgot about Tupu. I thought he was such a good pod when you brought him in a couple of weeks ago. How'd you score on the weekend?
I did okay. I got a 13.47, so I think that's probably a little bit above par. Or about par, so hanging on. How about yourself?
Very good. Yeah, no, I had a 1384, which was good enough for a small green arrow, 54th up to, or 50, I think 54th up to 43rd, so 11 spots, which was good. I kind of just avoided the carnage with Jayden Campbell, and that was about it, really. I just got 50s and 60s across the board, like a couple of okay scores. Greg Marju is just annoying the shit out of me. Him not playing, he's not named again this week. He's my pod that I held through the injury. Then he came back earlier than expected, and it's just not working out. But anyway, we push on. There's some good moves to be made this week. Also joining me tonight, very special guest. He is one half of the Realm and Myth podcast and content crew. It's a very special welcome for a pod debut. He's currently 51st overall. The Myth, mate. Welcome to the SC Ballers podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And yeah, I'm glad to be in talking SuperCoach. But you've got me right after you've took the lead from me.
Yes.
I got in front of you, and then you get me on after you bounced back and took that spot back.
Good battle,
mate. Timing's been the key all season, and this is no different. So yeah, very happy to have you on, mate. You've had a cracking year so far. You had a very strong start, and you sort of dropped a bit, but you fought your way back up into the top 100.
Yeah, it's been a weird year. I haven't had a start like that before, and then it was like everything I touched was just turned to stone. It was just awful. Fell back. I think I was 18th, and fell back with like 4 or 5 straight reds to 1400th, and then had six greens in a row till last week up to 27th, and then I finally stopped dodging all the injury luck, the injury carnage. Missed so much of it, but then copped the triple blow really, of the Metcalf cork, which had him not running, and the Sia Wong and Jayden Campbell combo on Sunday, which meant Wong's 15 in my 17, which wasn't ideal.
Yeah, it certainly seems like there have been a fair few highly owned players who have gone down with long-term injuries recently. We had obviously Ola Kawatu last week, Sharp. Now we've got Siwa Wong, who, he's not highly owned, but relatively well owned. And I'm sure there's another centre wing who managed to go down as well on the weekend after being sort of heavily purchased. I can't remember exactly who that was, but that's okay. Myth, you've had a fair few good finishes before. We were just chatting about in the green room. I believe you've had a few top hundreds, just for the listeners.
Yeah, all right. I'll say the record. I got 3 top hundreds, and then I've got another 4 in the top 500.
Yeah, that's
since 2014.
That's ridiculous. That's Hall of Fame stuff. We're very, very lucky to have you on the pod. That means that I'm the only one without a top 100 finish on the pod tonight. So you've got 3, Dan's got 2, multiple top hundreds. So look, I'm just a battler doing my best, but I'll try and steer the ship and let you guys give the listeners some very good advice. into the housekeeping now, guys, and don't forget to check out baller.live. We've got more feature drops this week, and I cannot reveal too much, but there is more coming. Get along there, sign up. We're going to do a big sign up push very soon. We're going to have some features sitting behind the sign up as well, which is going to be cool. We've got the watch along this Thursday night. It's going to be me and TBC on guest. Could be Tubes, Jono. We'll see how Aman's going. We'll get on to him. And that's going to be a lot of fun for Bulldogs versus Panthers. Massive, massive game, both from a SuperCoach and NRL perspective. So cannot wait for that. Cannot wait to see who we kill after killing Lehi and Olakawatu on our first two watch-alongs. So hopefully no one is safe. No one will be safe. So hopefully no one goes down too badly. We got the league, so that's obviously closed now. Feb Dogs, Anthony is 6th overall. He's going really well. The main event, Romain, we like to call him the Romain event. He's also doing well. He's back up into the top 10. So very well done to those guys. Catch our Thursday Q&A pod. We're going to keep that on as usual this week, which is fantastic. And yeah, make sure you check out all the content during the week. Producer Gramsy doing a great job with the content, and all the baller contributors. It's been a lot of fun so far this season. We really appreciate you guys checking us out on X, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. We are at SC Ballers or at sc.ballers on YouTube, of course. All right, guys, let's get into it now with our baller blueprint, which this week we are going to focus on center wing structure. It's been pretty much the main talking point of trades every week for the last couple of months, center wing, and most teams are fairly well stacked. I'll start with you, Dan. How many sort of guns are you running at center wing at the moment, and how are you looking to structure up with endgame in mind? We've got a few cheapies on the radar like Karapani and Jed Stewart. How important is cash generation to you, or versus trying to get as many guns in as you can now?
Yeah, so at the moment, I mean, my centre wing was looking a lot stronger a few weeks ago. I think with what's happened with the bye rounds, you've kind of had to flip it around a bit. I bought Jackson Purdue a couple of weeks back with a strategy that he will be flipped up to 5'8". So that would free up another premium spot in the centre wing. But I've got now the likes of Billy Smith. I'm bringing in Karapani. Probably got a mid to premium mid in Daniel Tupu, Purdue, and then the rest of the premiums. So, but what I'm looking for endgame is 5 premiums. So the likes of Herbie, Kiraz, Garrick, Lomax, those sort of guys, probably 5 that you're going to play pretty much every week without worry. And then probably one more for a play on matchups, and then probably going to have enough in that last spot where Lucas can flip down from the second row, because I'm definitely going to run out of trades back end, so I'm going to probably need that extra spot. So looking at Bradley from the Storm is probably going to be my end game centre wing 7th nuff.
It sounds pretty interesting, because I think that's probably a little lighter than sort of a few super coaches are thinking. How about yourself, Myth? Having chatted to you previously, I know you were a pretty big advocate for not having a 2-stack centre wing to cause yourself too many sit-start headaches too quickly, and then further into the back end of the season, and having that more more squad balance at the back of your mind.
Yeah, I think 7th gun center wing, it sounds nice in theory, until then you're left with the decision of, do I play Asako in this nice matchup, or do I play Purdue in this nice matchup? And you end up, it's just so hard to get right, those sit starts, no matter how good a super coach you are, no matter how many stats you look at, how much analysis you do. It's really, really unpredictable. Like, you make a decision, then all of a sudden the center opposing the guy you didn't pick goes down in the first 10 minutes, and all of a sudden he's getting all the ball. So I've actually had a look at my side today, and my plan personally might actually change. I might just have 5 premiums, have Billy Smith at center wing 6 and Lawson at center wing 7, and I might not touch it. Maybe I might flip someone like Asako on their round 21 bye, or I might flip even Garrick if I'm feeling a little bit adventurous on their round 19 bye. But I'm considering just doing that and instead of using an extra couple of trades, keeping a couple extra up my sleeve. If I don't need that 6th centre wing spot to play, like instead of bringing in, I don't know, a Brian To'o or a Roger Tuivasa-Sheck or a Marky Mark, I'm not going to try his last name. Instead of using extra trades to bring them in, if I'm just playing a Tino or a Kikau or a Nico Hines that week, I'm just not sure if I need to have a 6th centre wing, particularly with so many guns going down. It's not like it was 3 or 4 weeks ago when there looked like there were 10 great guns. Half of those had basically died.
It's been a real roller coaster. And I know people who have brought in, like Hiroti went down last week. Fletcher Sharp's gone down this week. And like I said, there's someone else who's going to come into my mind at some point. But
are you serious about you can't remember Bostock or
I can't remember
Bostock.
who is it?
Bostock?
Bostock, yeah.
I thought you just weren't naming him.
Jack Dotstock. No.
Jeez.
Yeah, Bostock. But people have gone Iro, Hiroti, Bostock. Like probably back-to-back 3 weeks in a row. All very popular buys. My Myth, just as a follow-on there, you spoke about keeping Lawson as a potential, if he plays, or if he doesn't, he's sort of enough centre wing that you have there. Are you still giving any consideration to cash generation in the position or cash generation more broadly?
I've kind of looked at my side and what I want to get to, and I have the cash there. Like it'll be tight, but at worst case, like I just said, I've got Billy Smith there. I'm going to probably have Tom Starling there. If I need extra cash, I can just nuff one of those guys down. So I don't think I need it, but I'm also low on trades. If I had maybe 15 or 16 trades right now, I'd be giving a lot more consideration to a Lawson, a Karapani, just to ride through these buys and potentially get an easy flip to a fallen gun for the run home.
Yeah, I think that's my quandary with Karapani, and I've basically had between 400,000 and 600,000 in the bank since I sold Jayden Campbell to King Togia back in Magic Round, and I haven't been able to spend it with with an injury every week. You're basically flipping. This week I'm flipping out Sharp and Olakawatu. It could be Karapani, but I've also got the option to go Lomax and Kiraz, and then I'm basically set at centre wing with those guns, with a view that I could go, if I want to go really hard, I could go like a Sarko out to Marky Mark next week if I want to get aboard that train. I've got Greg, so he'll probably just sit there as my 6th centre wing at the moment, and then Billy Smith. And any of those guys, if they either get injured or I need the cash, one of them can be downgraded to a Nuff Kane Bradley or a Nuff single centre wing position player to free up cash. So the more I think about it, the more I'm probably going to avoid Karapani for that reason. And I'm probably in the similar boat to you, Myth. My team value is pretty good, up just over 16 million, which is I think above par, or at least it's, and like you said, Myth, it's enough to get me to my final team in only a few weeks' time, and I can sort of ride that out. Cleary's the main one that I want to get, but even if I was to get Cleary, to be flipping out probably a Drinky. Like Cleary and Flex interest me a lot, but anyway, that's enough about my team. So we'll get back to the centre wing track. Dan, I just want to chat finally about sit starts. Myth mentioned the unpredictability of it, and I just think that's because all these guys in any given week just can score really well. They're good players. The NRL's a surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but a very hard to pick competition. We can do things based on probability, but we're talking at the margins here. These guys are going to have projections, a plus or minus 10 points each week. So a guy with a prediction in the mid 60s will outscore a guy with a projection in the mid 70s, sort of 45% of the time. So it just makes it really hard from a probabilistic perspective. So removing that sit start headache can really make a difference.
Yeah, and I think this year, maybe what we haven't seen in the past couple of years is there is such strength and such consistency at front row forward, second row forward. So it's really hard to sit some of these guys, that are going to be guaranteed for a 70 plus, the likes of Aaron Clark, AFB, these guys who are kind of maybe on your bench as your 4th second rower or 3rd front rower. So if you've got those sort of guys who you're pretty secure to play, and then you've got to choose between 3 centre wings, and a halfback and a 5'8", like it's just too stacked, and you really don't need it. So I think this year it's maximum 6 good centre wings, and I think if you're running 6 premium centre wings, you probably want to be running quite light in second row and front row, and probably have the likes of Aaron Clark and a Tino, someone who can flip between those two, because I just don't think you can stack your whole reserve list across the board. And that's what we talked about with the second 5'8" as well. You do not really need a second 5'8", because you're probably going to be playing these centre wings on matchups. You're probably going to be playing 2 halfbacks, and very likely a front row or a second row forward reserve. So yeah, just about not overstacking those reserves, because then that's when the sit-start headaches become a real issue.
Jayden Campbell's thrown in a bit of a spanner to the 5'8" long-term plan. Like, he's going to be very cheap as a second 5'8", for those who don't own. And those who do own have got a short-term headache. So, 5'8's evolving all the time. All right, guys, let's get into our positional analysis now, and we'll start at fullback. It's one of the more quiet weeks for fullback this year. Probably not many people buying. A lot of people set up with Drinky, Teddy, and Pappenhausen. I want to have a bit of a chat about Drinky, Myth. I know you're not an owner.
I am.
You are an owner.
I got him in the round 15 buy round.
Right. Okay.
So new owner.
Anyway, new owner. I think there's a lot of chat. I heard there was some people selling this week. I'm gonna just put a kibosh on that straight away. This matchup, but Drinkwater has the second highest projection on the baller projections of the week, behind Payne Haas only this week, and that's at 88 points. It's one of the best matchups of the season. He gets Purdue away from 5'8", which narrative-wise I think is very good for him. We've seen that he's averaged lower with Purdue at 5'8". I would just do not sell Scott Drinkwater this week, I will say. But Myth, on a longer term basis, Drinkwater's spot in our sides probably is a bit up in the air, and it's probably going to come down to these next sort of 2 to 3 weeks to see what he can if he can turn it around.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're crazy if you're considering selling this week, especially after that mail. Basically, if you've got a game against the Titans or the Cowboys on the run home, don't sell. Just play. It'll probably work out for you in the long term, even if it doesn't week to week. Round 19 is a very interesting off-ramp for Drinky. Plays the Dogs, and I think plays the Storm the week. No, sorry, he plays Storm week before. He plays the Dogs in round 19, and from memory, there might be a tough matchup in round 20. So it's really interesting.
They've got the Storm again at some point. Yeah, they've got the Storm 18, Dogs 20, Dolphins 20. Storm 18, Bulldogs 19, Dolphins 20.
And Dolphins have been pretty solid defensively and just gave them a hiding. I'd expect Cows to be better, but particularly that Dogs game, that screams of a Drinkwater 30, and every Drinkwater is going to be playing him that week, because we're all going to be struggling to put out 18 as it is. Don't think anyone's going to have that kind of luxury. So it's a very interesting week to get off Drinky and to take on a pod, because you might be able to start like on the front foot in terms of points, get up 30 or 40 points that week, and at least you've got a head start taking him on.
The issue with the Drinky sell, I think, Dan, is it's a bit who to. There's no one putting their hand up at fullback for that third slot. I mentioned Cleary there, and I think so for people who have sold Cleary, I think the point that Myth just made, Myth just made, that could actually work out really well if your numbers are secure for 19, going Drinky to Cleary, providing he backs up from Origin and his groin is okay. They play Parramatta that week. To have Cleary in flex. But Reece Walsh and Trell, Dan, are probably the two. They're both sort of that low 600s now. I don't know that Trell is a buy this week, given he's going to miss 18, 19. In fact, he's almost certainly not. But Reece Walsh is probably the guy that's come onto people's radar. He had an 89 on the weekend. He's got a break even of 34. I'm probably just in the trades is getting a bit low for me to be considering Reece Walsh.
Yeah, like similar to Drinky in the new format, but obviously it's gone back now with Purdue going to the centres. Like Drinky's got a low floor at the moment. Reece Walsh still has a low floor. Every time you watch his game, it's sometimes to the last 15 minutes, he's still on a 20 and then just bursts out a couple of attacking plays. So still highly volatile. And, you know, Drinky can definitely come back and bounce back. So I'm very secure holding him there for now. I liked your strategy on maybe looking to Cleary or even the likes of Jayden Campbell in the flex for a couple of rounds. You can definitely do that, and particularly if you're stacked at centre wing, I don't mind that because you maybe don't have to play that third fullback. But end game, you need to decide on your third fullback, and as Smith said, like if you pull the trigger early, you might jump ahead of everyone and make a couple of points up for the rounds 19, 20, 21.
Really looking forward to Turbo going 100 these next 2 weeks and everyone bringing him back in for around 20. Yeah, it's going to be good fun. I'm not sure I can watch that game this week. Turbo moved to centre. For anyone who hasn't seen, let's get down to centre wing now, guys. And there are 2 names on everyone's lips as trading options this week. Josiah Karapani, 290k, minus 85, if you don't mind, break even. He is now 27% owned in the top 10%. Having been brought in by a quarter of all super coaches in the top ranks. Now, this is about as low as break evens get. The tricky bit with Karapani, Myth, is they play the Wars, then the Dogs, into the Titans in 19, then a bye. So, you know, thinking back to our earlier chat around centre wing structure, you really need a pretty secure plan as to what happens to Karapani. Then we can also layer in that his job security, whilst okay, it seems okay on the surface, it's probably not rock solid.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting one. I think there's a few different ways of looking at him. He could be a really good centre wing 7. If he holds that spot, you bring him in. Broncos left wing has been good real estate all year. Arthur's feasted it there early in the season. So if you just get him in, if he makes that cash, great. If he doesn't make that cash, he just sits there. I think if you've got the trades, it's a pretty good spot, especially if you've got expensive centre wings and you need to free up some cash. He seems like a superb one. I wouldn't expect a good score in that Dogs game, but you're probably going to be pretty happy rolling him out against the Titans when everyone's scratching together to get 18. So whilst it's not a good matchup at 18, it's kind of got the dream matchup in 19. So yeah, I just want to have an extra number in round 18 to potentially let his score drop out if you need it.
If you are looking for the cash stand, do you have any like red flags with Karapani, or he does look relatively bulletproof, at least for a short period, to generate that sort of 150 to 200k?
Yeah, I like the purchase just because I think for me personally, I'm getting rid of a bit of deadwood in the likes of a Hubner. So it frees up that extra cash to then go hard at some other premiums there. And I love having centre wings that can pop off in the big buy rounds. So as Myth said, like round 19, he could go nuts. It's not the best round 18 up against the Bulldogs, but I think you can definitely think about him as your final centre wing number 7. And if he gets up to 450k, it's a much easier bump up or downgrade for enough to free up 250k. So yeah, even though I'm tight for trades, I'm still using it. And just everywhere else is bleeding cash at the moment. So I really just need someone gaining some cash.
Yeah, I think there are a few good scenarios where he does get to sort of 550k as well over a period of time. So, and it's worth noting that Broncos, whilst they haven't been in amazing form for a long period of time, they're fifth on the ladder. And they do have a very super coach friendly game when they get going. As Myth alluded to, that left wing, like we saw Jesse Arthurs get to 600k earlier in the season. He's had 14 runs and 18 runs in the last 2 games. I think that's really promising. Like his work rate is good. His base is not through the roof. He's had 24 and 27, but very promising that he's looked to get involved. So yeah, look, I've flirted in and out with Karapani this week. I'm just going to wait and see. It's going to come down to how I think about the structure of my centre wing. But yeah, I can see why he's so popular. The other guy on everyone's lips is Jacob Kiraz. So this has kind of been the week that the masses have been waiting for. Get past that round 16 bye. Myth, I know you jumped on early. for his decent score. I think he had in the sort of 90 when he came back from injury. How would you be feeling this week if you didn't own? Do you see him as just the perfect week to bring in, or could you give it a week and just make sure he doesn't get into Origin? He'd need injury.
Everyone should leave him be and let me have him as a pod. Those 90s were great. He's
Mate,
so
it's
fun
well
to
past
own.
that.
Yeah, he's such an easy. Besides fearing for his health from every hit up, aside from that, he's just an easy own. So many times he just gets that hit up over 8 meters, tackle bust and offload, and he's just 8 points right there, and he just does it so easily. I really wouldn't hesitate. I don't think there's any reason to avoid him. Sure, could be a tight game this week against Penrith if they turn up, but if they get into a grind, that just means he's taking a hit up every 2 minutes, and you don't know if that's going to be 2 points, 4 points, 8 points, or if it's going to even break through. So there's not really much that would hesitate. Any reasons really to hesitate on Kiraz for me. If you're really light on next week's numbers and you got to prioritize guaranteed numbers for next week, that's probably the only reason I'd avoid.
Yeah, and look, we need an injury to kind of one of the back five for New South Wales, probably not including Edwards in that. That's the way. That's his only way into Origin for 18. I think most teams, the way it's shaken out, should be pretty well set up for round 18. Not forgetting that we get 3 trades next week, so you can make up for that if he does end up in Origin. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't really have any counter. My counter was going to be the tougher matchup against Penrith this week. But yeah, I brought him in as soon as the game opened, and he hasn't left my side. So, yeah, I suppose that the only thing I'm a bit concerned about, Dan, is Lomax, and this is a bit of a therapy session for my own team, if you would indulge me. Bringing in Kiraz and Lomax this week. If Lomax was the one who got injured, I'd lose both of them for 18 and 19. I feel like that's just a risk I've got to take, though.
I'm not sure. I'm a bit worried for Lomax. Not necessarily long term. I think he's probably going to make his way into my side at some stage. But, geez, Eels have some outs this week. And, you know, no Mitch Moses. Obviously, they're playing the Titans. The Dragons.
The Dragons, yeah.
But they seem very weak this week, Parramatta. We know that Lomax is going to base very well, and you know, obviously, if they score a few tries, he's got the kicking. But I could very easily miss Lomax this week. One, obviously, as you said, Origin next week, could get injured for that. Might not back up in round 19. It's just, you know, Kiraz scares me so much more than not missing Lomax this week. So if you're going to choose between the two, I'd definitely be going Kiraz.
I'm more scared.
I don't think Penrith is a bad matchup. I think Penrith is a very good matchup for Kiraz. Like, apart
Who's
from
he
last
marking
week,
up against? Tommy? He's on Tommy and Casey.
Tommy and Casey.
That's a great. That edge all season has been very leaky.
Yeah. So I think Kiraz is the priority this week. I'd be very happy to miss Lomax and look to pick him up round 19, round 20.
Myth. Lehi Hopoate was someone who was firmly on my radar to start the week. He's got that fullback spot over Turbo now. The CEO of Manly has come out and said that it's a short-term thing. We're putting Turbo in the centres, get him some confidence back, sort of see him through this tricky leg injury, whatever it is that he has. That's just been just enough to put me off Lehi. I will say though that it is. I can see why some super coaches are tempted just with these next 2 fixtures. We've seen what Lehi can do at fullback, and if he does have 2 good games, it's certainly within the range of outcome that he actually does hold that fullback spot through to the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. He was very much on my radar as well, and he's gone off a little bit. I'm worried about him not owning him the next 2 weeks, but then I kind of thought, okay, let's say if he does score well the next 2 weeks, does retain the fullback position, then has the round 19 bye. I've already got quite a few on that. And then Manly have a just awful run. They play Melbourne and Melbourne, then they play the Dogs, then they play the Roosters who are playing good footy. That one's at home, which is okay. And then they play Canberra and Canberra. I'm not sure if there's a worse 4-game stretch in the NRL there. They're just missing an away game to the Warriors, and that's about as bad as you could get. So I'm kind of thinking, well, if I've got 5 gun centre wings anyway, are they just going to be better than Lehi for that run? So whilst the short-term pain's going to be there, that's where I'm kind of looking at it to have a bit of copium for this next 2 weeks.
You also get the very Brown outcomes there as well, where he does lose his spot back to Turbo in round 20, and you've got him on the left wing for that really tough run. And he's basically not unplayable, but you wouldn't want to play him.
No, I wouldn't want to play him. So I think I can counter him this week by getting a gun centre wing, and I just have to cop a hit next week because I don't think many people are going to have as many gun centre wings as a team with Lehi will next week, just simply because you have someone else, a Lomax or a Sarko or a Herbie, that type of player sitting out.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about that one. Jackson Purdue, Dan, you're an owner, you mentioned. How do you feel about this move back to centre for him from an owner as an owner?
I'm very happy. I think last time he was playing centre, I think he played centre against the Titans last time when they towed him up, and it was the Drinky Purdue show, both turning up. So, yeah, very happy he's gone back there, and now he's guaranteed to get the dual centre wing 5'8" next week. So yeah, I'm gonna hold on, and if it's not looking good the next couple of weeks, he's a very easy sideways trade to Jayden Campbell for that second 5'8" spot for me personally. But otherwise, I'll probably just keep him as a second 5'8" for the rest of the year. I wouldn't be jumping off. I think his price is too low now. So yeah, just hold on. Good matchup against the Titans. Very good play in your 18 this week.
Yeah, I don't know if his price is too low to sell. I'd just be more hesitant to sell for the other reasons you mentioned, the good matchup and the 5'8" eligibility that he's going to get. That'll just give you a lot more optionality over the next couple of weeks. See how the Campbell situation plays out. See how the Cowboys situation plays out. But yeah, I think he's probably priced fairly now for the position he's going to play. Obviously, it hasn't worked out for those who's purchased around the time you did, but probably no reason to let that sway your selling prospects. But this just doesn't feel the right week, even with that slightly higher break even. I think you just want to retain optionality with Jackson Purdue. A couple of alt cheapies, Myth, who are on the radar at centre wing. If you're not going Karapani, or you, for whatever reason, or just sort of around, just want to just quick couple of words on Sifa Talakai's 350k, break even at 12 this week, and Jed Stewart 198k. He's the more bottom dollar option with good job security.
Yeah, look, with Karapani there, I don't see too much of a reason to go for a Sifa Talakai. May as well just get the extra 60k and get that. I know Talakai has dual, but the job security concerns, if he goes back to the bench, he could be in a very poor role where he might be an AE nightmare. So I really don't see much of a reason there. Jed Stewart, he had, 45 with a line break try. So bottom dollar, great for freeing up cash, gives you a number in round 18 and might contribute to your score if he does get another meat pie or gets over for a double. But screams AE nightmare potential. So if you've got a bunch of AE nightmares already, sure, doesn't hurt to have another. But if you don't and you want to keep that looping flexibility there, yeah, I'm not so keen.
Yeah, and we have, it's actually gone off the radar a bit, but looping and AEs is firmly going to come back onto the agenda come around 20 when squads start to get stacked. And captaincy is just going to be so critical. Like, it's obviously not as important during bye rounds because you either don't have to worry, you get free loops, or AEs aren't a big issue because you're only running 1 or 2 MPRs that week. But it is going to be, like we've seen earlier in the year, the captaincy is so important to overall scores this year. You need to be nailing your captains, and looping is for better or worse, looping is a massive part of that. So really avoiding AE nightmares where you can, or just not setting those traps like a Talakai could be, I think is very, very important for the run home. So I'm with you there. And Jed Stewart, I would just say that I think that's a next week problem. Don't even think about Jed this week, unless you're really desperate. Okay, guys, a couple of pods to round out our centre wing chat. Just want to get your general thoughts. I'm going to throw 3 at you, Dan, and then I'm going to throw 3 at you, Myth. Dan, the first three I'm going to throw at you are Brian To'o, Young GI, aka Garamad Shibasaki, and Marky Mark, Nwanganita Wase. How are you feeling about any of those guys as pods for the run home?
I like Toto back end. I wouldn't be picking him up right now, but there's still that slight hamstring concern. Obviously, Origin still probably going to rest in round 19 as well, but certainly one who should be on your radar. Anything under 650k for Brian Toto, I think is going to be decent value at the back end. Marky Mark, how good would it be to be an owner of Marky Mark? Like he's so fun to watch, even not being an owner of
Inject
it,
it.
right? Like it's just unbelievable. So yeah, I wouldn't, anyone out there who's down the ranks and just wanting a bit of Supercoach fun, bring in Marky Mark for sure. I still think he's too high a price to bring in as one of those premiums. Obviously, he's on the buy this week, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be super consistent, particularly when Roosters are in a bit more of a battle. It looked amazing for him on the weekend, but when those tougher games come around, I think his base is still a bit of an issue. But he's so fun to watch. I couldn't turn anyone off him there. Young GI, no Tubes is still a big owner, big fan. Not for me, but well done for Tubes to hold on.
I think Young GI is a very sneaky pod. Just on Marky, their run is mixed on the way in. They've got some nice fixtures, but also they've got the Storm twice and the Dogs. So that's pretty tricky. They play Parramatta and South 2 out of the last 3 rounds. That's pretty juicy. He'd be a matchups guy, Marky. But yeah, good vibes. Just wants to have fun. And I'm going to give him some serious consideration next week. Myth, your 3, Connor Tracy, Xavier Coates, and about to be the all-time leading try scorer in NRL history, Alex Johnston.
I'll start with AJ. It's going to be a nice watch for the next few weeks as he gets closer and closer to that record. But from a Supercoach perspective, I think the game's gone past him. I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, you could have those low base centre wings. These days, he's going to need basically 2 line breaks and a try just to match the base of a Herbie. So I just don't think that the Rabbitohs are going to catch fire enough. If you think Rabbitohs are going to be a top 4 team putting 35 points on a week, he's worth a shout, but not for me. Xavier Coates, similar, although his base has improved over recent weeks. If the Storm had a run of day home games, if they had a few more of those on the run home, I reckon he'd be an unreal pod as a matchup guy, but they don't have that. There's a bunch of night games. I'd want to have those real plum home day fixtures if I was going to own Coates, because that's where he really has gone big. So again, I just don't think the fixture list has helped him. Connor Tracy, we're talking in the green room a little bit about that. He's just that guy that you'll get that good 115, and then a few rounds later you look back and he's given you a 4-round average of 63. Those low ones just come out of absolute nowhere. Great price. I like him the most of the 3 on this list because he covers round 18, round 19. I think if you wanted to have him for like a 3-week rental, pick him up next week and just hope that the low one doesn't come in that, and then he's just depth. That could be a really good play. But otherwise, I just think that I like Danny's ones better, to be honest, if I'm going for a pod.
Yeah. You
like
got the bottom lot.
I just realised, I didn't realise, I thought Marky Mark was high 600s, but 630k after this chat is a bit more interesting. So I might look to switch him for a Billy Smith or something next week.
This is as cheap as he's going to get as well.
Yeah.
34 BA.
I didn't really realise he was that price. But Myth, you might be able to settle a debate. Grant Anderson, pod or dot ball for the run home?
Not for me.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
I needed Realm on.
This week as well.
Realm nearly bought him, didn't he, last week?
I think he was close. I think he was actually closer to Marky Mark, to be honest, before he pivoted to Lomax.
Yeah. Look, Grant Anderson could have gone 120 on the weekend if he didn't fumble the ball over the line, but now gone to centre.
He's a bit clumsy.
I don't know if he's even guaranteed for the final run home in the Storm team, but we'll see.
He is. He's all right. Leave him alone. Let's move down to 5'8". We've been very thorough in our centre wing discussion tonight, and it's ended on a high with Grant Anderson. So let's get down to halfback and 5'8". A lot quieter there this week. The boys on the Snap had a very good chat about Latu Fainu. Copped a bit of backlash, actually, on socials, which I thought was surprising. He's 289K. He's playing halfback for the Tigers this week. Issue I've got, Dan, with Latu Fainu, I'm sorry, I should mention he's got a minus 11 BE. Issue I've got is I just don't want to make that a trade at 5'8" this week. I've just got zero interest, like especially now that Campbell's gone down. Gramsci's put in a note that could he be the second 5'8" for your run home? And I think that's fair. Like, I think he could be if, you think he's going to hold the spot. My issue is just the trade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think anyone with like King Tongia shouldn't be looking at Latu Fainu as well. I think probably the best option is if you've got 4 premium halves at the moment, so 2 premium halfbacks, 2 premium 5'8s, and say you're holding Cleary still, maybe downgrading that to then inject some cash elsewhere for some premiums. But otherwise, yeah, I'd probably, now that even Jayden Campbell's becoming very juicy at mid 500s, I could easily miss, but he did look very good on the weekend. Looked very strong. I think he's only going to get better as he gets a bit more game time as well. So don't, if it suits your team, I can definitely see it as a purchase.
Yeah, I'd never feel confident running him out though, starting in Myth.
Yeah, I think if you want your team structure, just run 158 and not even consider a second 5'8" for the run home. I think he's fine, particularly as he gives you a number 18 and 19.
That's the type of thing you want as well from that player. You just want them playing. Hopefully, yeah, like 80-minute player. Hopefully not an AE nightmare on a very off week, but otherwise just going to get you those sort of between 40 and 100 scores that are going to be fine on your bench. Jayden Campbell myth. You're an owner, very popular. I know he's very, very popular in a couple of Discords that we hang out in from time to time. Everyone felt the pain except for me on the weekend with that 10. Everyone was on a bit of hopium, hoping that the Titans were going to challenge and get him off, and we'd see him lining up. It's not to be. He now misses 17 and 18 with the Titans on the bye. 564K, break even of 100. He's 43% owned, and 3% of teams are selling him off. What would be your message for those teams considering selling?
Look at how many day games he's running home with. They're like, there's a ridiculous amount. Titans, they play round 20, they play at 2 o'clock, round 21, 3 o'clock, round 20. Oh, sorry, that round 21's in New Zealand, so it might be a bit later. 22 is 3 o'clock, 23 is 2 o'clock, 24 is 3 o'clock, 26 is 4 o'clock. There's just too many day games there, and that's just touch football for the Titans, which Jayden Campbell's playing his best in. I don't want to spend trades at 5'8". I don't think it's the way you want to have high trade usage. So unless you really want to run that Latu Fainu strategy, I don't really see anyone worthwhile going sideways to.
Just thinking about the structured teams this week who have Campbell, they're probably running one, King Togia. If they're running a Munster, that's obviously fine. They can run him out. King Togia, Dan, that's probably okay to run out this week. And obviously you've got him next week for 18, but for a week, the fixture's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, like when else are you going to run out King Tongia if it's not against a depleted Parramatta Eels side at home? So
at home.
Yeah, so I think it's fine to run out and keep Campbell. I would be keeping Campbell at that price. There's absolutely no value in trading him out. Yeah, pretty simple.
I just think he's the standout 5'8" for the run home. Full stop.
Yeah, I think there's a
I'm
world.
a Munster owner.
There's a world where you could run 2 5'8s and only one halfback as well with Jayden Campbell and Munster. So you could look at back end just running out Cleary. Like if you said week to week on good matchups like Jayden Campbell versus Nicho Hynes, like at the moment, apart from the weekend, you'd probably say Jayden Campbell's a better prospect to score more here. So yeah, I could see that as a strategy too.
Nico's just mental. It seems like he's playing terrible. He comes out and looks amazing for a half a footy, scores well as he just tends to do in SuperCoach. I don't know what I'm going to do with Nico. I'll probably hold him for now. But the Sharks do run into a very nice run of games.
Very good run. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know they've got it in them. We'll get to Nikora in a sec. Actually, let's get down to the 2RF right now, fellas. Nikora, -2, 606K. I loved Nikora last week. Couldn't get him in because I had other stuff to deal with. I love him again this week, 606K. Base plus power of 65 back-to-back weeks now. Try again or try assist, I think, on the weekend. Back-to-back tons. I really, really like what I'm seeing from Nikora. My issue is back row structure, 2RF structure. Now, most people listening will have some sort of combination of Lucas, Katoa, Tino, and Kalamatangi. Then obviously others are rolling, Aaron Clark. So there's a lot of good, highly owned options already. I kind of want to retain a bit of optionality myth for post buys with a 2RF sort of pod or origin gun like a Hudson Young or an Angus Crichton. And if I get Nikora now, I feel like that I'm limiting that because we've spoken so much about sit starts and 2RF really isn't probably somewhere where you want to be having a reserve spot that you need to have playing every week.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure about that last part. I think there's a lot of good second row forwards where you might want to use a reserve there. A lot on the run home. It seems to be growing. Like if you ran home and you were playing Ecat, Kalamatangi, Lucas, Nikora, if he keeps up this form, and Angus Crichton every week, I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Well,
they've all got
that's
upside.
kind of my point. That's kind of my point is it might be okay to have one, but to have two of those guys who you don't want to sit, you are creating more sit-start headaches. And that's kind of where I've landed with Nikora. That because I've got the third front rower in Tarpany as well. I just feel very full up in the forward pack.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry, yeah, you don't want to be too heavy. Like I think we've said it before. I think 4 is max for premiums at second row, with a floating second row, front row. And then I think you can get away with 2 front row forwards only with those floating down. So that's where I'd probably you could have 5 good premium second row forwards as long as 1 to 2 of them are dual, so you can flip them up to the front row if injuries happen at the back end.
Nikora specifically, Myth. How do you see him as a purchase this week?
I still like him. I think he's showing that form that we saw last year, and he was pretty decisive on the run home. Heard a lot of people. He's been a perennial gun the last few years, and he's still at a pretty good price when you consider that. So I don't hate it, but it's locking yourself into him. A lot of people are pretty stacked at second row forward, 3 or 4 already locked in. Is he the last guy you want? There's a lot of good options coming up.
That's it. That's a bit how I feel about him. Popular option this week, Dan, Viliame Kikau, 621K, 18% owned. He's been a very successful pod option for a lot of super coaches this year. I wouldn't mind owning him. I just struggle to get too excited at 620K.
Yeah, I think there's going to be better options for the run home. He could hurt people, so owners that have him now, I think, well done on his run recently, and he's going to be a big play for that next round 18 buy. But I think to Myth's point, like you've kind of made your bed, most of the second rowers, and I'm going to be targeting someone like Hudson Young for the run home. So I'm very comfortable missing at the moment.
Couple of another sort of pod option Myth. Jacob Preston, 688K, break even to 93. He's dropping in price. This guy sort of interests me a fair bit more as one of those alternate 2RFs. We saw what he could do at the start of the season. He's very, very popular. He's on the wrong side, but I don't think that's too important. We've seen the most important thing for Preston is just him being fit, and he gets through that work. He'll get the attack, and he just seems like a great option.
I'm going to disagree on you there.
Ooh.
I actually don't like Preston that much at all with the other options coming through. I think you nailed it. He's on the wrong side. All the ball goes left, and his best score this year came on the left. That double he scored, or I think it might have been maybe not doubles, maybe just a couple try involvements, but that happened outside Matt Burton. I'm not sure it was Matt Burton playing. It might have been Hayward who was playing left 5'8", but their structure still remained the same. Does Galvin change that? That's, I guess, the only thing that would give me complete pause in ruling him out. But I think there are better options than Preston out there. I prefer Kikau on the left.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. A couple of guys just finally into RF who people are starting to sell off, and they're both from the Raiders. Zach Hosking, Dan's been a pretty disappointing purchase. When he was sort of popular, he got in and got that full-time edge role when Matty Nicholson went down. He had a score in the 40s on the weekend. He's 511k now, so not a ton of value in him. Break even to 68. Still very heavily owned. How would you feel about moving Zach on this week, or would you be looking to hold for 18?
I think I'd hold unless you're looking to flip someone up to get a centre wing premium this week, because I don't think the centre wing, the second row premiums are available really for this week going forward. And I think Hosking will be a decent number next week. Podson Young still on Origin duty, should get big minutes. He should get big minutes this week as well. At 511k, not a huge amount of value. Like, you could even not play him this week if you're fully stacked elsewhere. So I'd probably keep him for a number next week. Hope he pops off with a try and gets you a decent score for round 18. And then very easy move on after that.
Another guy, his base power has just been through the floor, which has been his strength historically. But another guy whose base plus powers, maybe even more so his minutes, he got decent minutes on the weekend, who's also gone through the floor, is Corey Horsburgh Myth, 496k now. Still relatively highly owned, 25% up high. Similar boat to Hosking. Like, are you holding him for 18? Is he someone you're looking to move on in the short term?
I think if you've got numbers for next week and you're moving him to premium, you move him on. But if either of those things aren't true, you may as well just hold him for one more week. Bench him if you can this week, and then, easy sell 19.
Myth, we're going to have to let you go now. You got a prior appointment to get to. But before you go, I'd love to hear a pod of the week from you.
This is a guy close to my heart. He's done good things to me in Supercoach circles in the last couple of years, and that's Jeremiah Nanai.
Wow.
He's, funnily enough, in 70-minute games and above this year, he's averaging 77. So that's pretty handy. He's running at Tom Weaver this week. The last time he ran at Tom Weaver, he scored 132. So I think he's not even just a pod for this week. I think he's a good pod for the run home because he can really find a score. He's had a 150 in the past, and outside Tom Dearden's not a bad place to be. I think Purdue on the left centre now is good for them. Yeah, Jeremiah Nanai is my pod of the week.
Very, very good, mate. I like it a lot. Well, you enjoy yourself, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll give you another plug. Realm and Myth subscription. You're one of the best super coaches out there. We've loved having you on, mate. And best of luck as you ascend up into the top 10 for the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to battling you on the way home.
Thanks, mate. All right, Danny boy, let's move down to front row forward now. And pretty quiet week at front row. The big talking points, Tino, Fasuamela, Aoi, and Payne Haas. Now, Tino had a 37 in 37 minutes on the weekend. Very disappointing for owners, myself included. He's only 624k now. Now, he's averaging 74 on the season. He's got a break-even of 126. Now, the sell or hold question is really raising its head this week. I'll start. I'm holding. A couple of reasons. I think he'll bounce back. I'm a little bit worried about this sternum injury, Dan. I don't think we know a lot about it, do we? And they haven't actually come out and said that he's got a sternum injury.
No, I don't know. It's a bit up in the air. He's still playing Origin. He's obviously okay. I don't know on the weekend, did he not come back on because the game was over, possibly? And
I think so.
Des was just, saying, what's the point? Give him a rest. Let's freshen him up for attacking the Cowboys next week. So I am holding. I was looking to sell actually last week until Fletcher Sharp went down because he was my avenue to get Kiraz this week. But as a result, I held on. I didn't actually play him. I played Purdue over him, which didn't help, but it didn't really hurt either. But yeah, happy to keep Tino at his price now. When he was at 750, would have been a great time to jump off given what's happened. But I think he's too cheap now, and he will be a very, very rock solid performer for you at the back end of the season.
He's just going to be so valuable with that duel. Like, we joke a lot about duels being handy on this podcast, but his duel is so handy to run as a makeshift third front rower down in your second row, or you can have him up as your third front rower. He's, like I said, he's been averaging in the high 70s for most of the season. Once he's fit and firing, if this keeps up, then, we're going to have a bit of a think about it. But you can sit him as well, like if his form doesn't get any better. So Cowboys are notorious for having terrible middles, and there's a good chance that he will feast this weekend on those Cowboys middles from a base plus power perspective. And we know he's got some attack in him, so I'm keen to trot him out this weekend. I'll be holding. Payne Haas, 748k. What a beast. They told us he was injured. They told us his minutes were going to be no good. He just destroyed that. He even overcame a run up the tunnel at one point, possibly to get an injection in that groin for another ton. 108 points. Super coaches who sold him through this buy period are now having second thoughts and buying him back. If you had sold him, did you sell him, first of all?
No, I've got him still. It was very nice to see on the weekend.
Would you be considering the buyback now or waiting through to the end of the Origin period? They also have the buy in round 20, very importantly. We don't know about round 19 on the backup. I think he probably backs up. But how would you be feeling as a non-owner this week? Would he be a priority to bring in?
Definitely not a priority to bring in right now. He's obviously scary when you don't own because, as particularly on the weekend, he brought that offload out and it was just incredible. Going up the tunnel, strapping on the groin, these things are still concerning, and he's going to play big minutes in Origin. Like, he's just so essential. I really think he should be the highest paid player in the game, just his value he adds to any team that he plays in. So I think is missing round 18, round 20. I think if Broncos have the game wrapped up against Titans in round 19, he won't come back on. So he's a chance to play 45, 50 minutes in that game. So chances are he doesn't hurt you then. So this week, it might hurt you a bit, but I think you can easily wait. But he is essential in round 21 after their bye.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would be my take as well. I'm very happy to have held him through. We'll miss him in round 18 and round 20, but yeah, he'll be he's essential for the run home. Dan, just a quick few front rowers for your thoughts on Naf White, Toby Couchman, Jamin Jolliffe, all in. Naf White and Jamin Jolliffe are in quite good form for their clubs. Jamin Jolliffe is unseeded Mo Fotuaika. He's 452k. Naf White, so good. 80 points on the weekend in 52 minutes, 58 in pure base. I love Naf White. I'm just these guys, like, they're just mid-ranges to me. Just doesn't feel great to bring in now, this time of year.
No, but they're just coming on my radar as you tell me now. So I'm just checking out their stats. Joliffe from the Titans.
Joliffe.
Surely not. Obviously,
this is a producer Gramsci special. Joliffe.
It's just how many flyers do you need to take in the front row and second row when there's so many rock solid options that are probably in your team right now. Naf White looks great. I could see him
Naf White.
as
So
your, because he's got the duel too, doesn't he? So definitely could be the run home third front row forward with the option to flip him to second row if you need him. Obviously on the bye this week, but if it frees up a little cash, decent-ish price, 515k. So yeah, could see him as an option. But if you're already stacked there, I wouldn't bother.
Would you rather him or Couchy as that sort of flexi option for the run home?
Probably Naf White. I think there's a bit more power upside. I think Couchy's a lot more meat and
just
potatoes.
all base.
All base. Dragons could get belted. Roosters are definitely on the up. And I think he's going to be a key, particularly if Victor Radley's out. I think he's going to be that kind of leader in the pack now. But yeah, so I'd probably prefer him over Couchman for the run home.
All right. We've finally made it. The week we're going to talk about hooker. Somehow hooker's is a relevant position this week. Producer Gramsy is so fired up for this segment, so big shout out to you, mate. I don't know where to start. Riley Smith's been suspended for 2 weeks. He's 424k, relatively highly owned. He's done a very, very good job for owners, but it makes it tricky, especially if you're running alongside Sandon Smith, who's on the bye there, Dan. Let's start with Riley Smith explicitly. If you're running a Ryley and Sandon combo, do you take an AE there this week, or should you be looking to move on Riley Smith with the knowledge that you're probably going to have to move Sandon on as well at some point?
Yeah, it's a tough one this week. I think you could probably take an AE, just given the time of year and the trades. You could definitely take an AE this week. Particularly, you'll have a lot of Roosters on the bye. So if you don't have many AE issues, or you've got, say, an 18th man conundrum in terms of who you're going to play because your 19th man is strong or your 20 man is strong as well, then you don't really just have to make that decision. You just cop the AE there. So I'd be happy to take the AE. In saying that, if I was going to trade Riley Smith, I'd probably just go to Harry Grant. I think that's what a lot of people will be doing this week. I wouldn't be looking at going for a Blake Braileys, Cam McInnes, Wade Egan. Like they're just, it's a bit of a flyer.
Tom Starling?
You could get stuck with a very middling. Tom doesn't play round 19, which might be an issue for people still. But he's shown some good form. Geez, he's getting through a lot of work in the 50, 60 minutes that he's playing.
He's getting through so much work, the Fox Sports stat counters can't keep up. They have to add 10 tackles minimum every week to his tally, which is very nice. He could be a season-long hold for owners, I think, as your second hooker as we get through the buys here. I'm with you. I would take an AE with Sandon and Ryley combo as well, just given most people should be okay for AEs this week. Harry Grant is extremely interesting. We saw good signs on the weekend. His average is sneaking up now. He's not going to play 18, and I still think there's a good chance he doesn't play 19 on the backup. Storm have a relatively quick backup, I believe. I don't have that info in front of me now, but all the whispers were that he was going to miss last round on a backup. He played 84 minutes. So do they give him a rest? Do they not? Who do they actually play in round 19? Let's have a quick look at that. They play the Knights away. So, yeah, a bit of a banana skin, you might call it, that game. Tricky one. I'm on the fence about buying Harry Grant this week. It's certainly, you're buying him for the long term, so you can probably suck it up for the next couple of weeks, especially if you own Sandon as your second hooker. You'll get 18 and 19 out of him, so not too much to worry about. So, yeah, I'd be going that way. I wouldn't be worrying with Blake. Blake's going fantastic, career best form. I still feel mixed about him as a Sharks fan. I don't know. Jayden Braileys, Dan, any interest? He's 292k and looks like he's going to be potentially getting, if not just a big minute role, potentially an 80-minute role there at Newcastle. He might be a downgrade as your second hooker for the run home.
Yeah, he might be, but I think I'd probably prefer to Nuff there. And my plan is getting Connor Watson after Origin. He doesn't play now till round 19. I think Jayden Braileys could still potentially be an AE issue. Like, I don't think he's guaranteed to keep that hooking spot, even though he's there now. I think Knights have a few middles to come back as well. And as soon as they're stacked in the middle, Phoenix Crossland doesn't play starting lock.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
I think that's a big issue for him. And he doesn't excite me at this time of year either. Like, you're getting him in for a 40 or 50, base man, makes some terrible decisions near the lines at times, doesn't get attack.
You're not going to sell him for the cash.
No, so not for me.
Yeah, I'd probably just rather the Kalani going enough strategy as well. Kurt Donoghoe, Dan, Irish Kurt, 80 minutes on the weekend. That was injury impacted. He played a centre. He actually got a try assist and a line assist for Osako out at centre. 5-round average of 65, 491k now. It's just a bit up in the air what those minutes look like. I do think his role is fairly established at lock. I think you're probably looking at sort of that 55 to 65 sort of average minutes.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he's an 80-minute every game, but he's definitely looking at that 60 minutes plus. Very good player, I think.
He is. I will say, Dan, just on the minutes there, that he is a mop-up guy. So if they do get injuries like they did with Bostock, he will mop up minutes because he's so versatile. He can play fullback, centre, hooker, lock, probably front row even.
Yeah, yeah. Well done to the hot hand of the moment, Jono.
The hot hand.
From the Sunday snap. He is on fire at the moment, and he was very keen on him 2 weeks ago. So he's done very well. And 2 weeks ago, we were worried about his price being a bit too much. So right now, nearly 500K. I think you can miss him. Yeah.
Yep, agree. Jazz Tavanga, he's won the starting hooker spot at Manly. He's a hold for owners, I would say, even though that hooking role's not great. But there could be a nice hybrid role there for him, Dan, where he gets some middle minutes. They're a bit short.
Yep. If you've got him, hold on. I don't think there's any reason to move him on. Simpkin's still on the bench. Just hold, but nothing to do with buying.
You could get a 60-minute hybrid role there easily, middle and hooker, and I think that'll be conducive. So I think he's a perfect second hooker if you own him. Little watch on Mamazelis. He's back on the bench this week. He doesn't get the juices flowing too much, but just a watch. Cookie still potentially an option. We want to see how that all shakes out. Dan, Connor Watson versus Grant for the run home for hooker number 1. Is this a team dependent thing? Who's the best option, do you think, for that sort of round 20 onwards for hooker number 1?
My concern with running 2 good hookers is you're not going to play both of them each week. And I really think Watson's duel there is so essential this year. So I would lean towards Watson. But if you've got a lot of trades, if you've held a lot of trades, I would probably go Harry, and you could probably run Watson through the second row and have going as that second hooker. So probably if it was in a vacuum, who's a better player at hooker? Harry Grant. I think he's been quiet and he's still the 3rd highest average in hooker. So I would go Harry, but for teams this year and maybe low on trades, I'd probably look to go Watson, so you've got the flip option.
What's very interesting with Watson is he played 80 minutes on the weekend, and the young hooker, Benny Iolu, please forgive me, I know I've butchered that name, he played sort of 55, 60 minutes at hooker, and so we're seeing a lot of middle minutes there for Watson. If that keeps up, I think Watson will demolish Harry Grant on the run home, and he'll have the duel. So I like to have that in my pocket. I'm going to go Watson for sure over Harry, but like you said, Dan, I won't be surprised at all to see Harry outpoint Connor. But I'm in the Connor Watson camp as well. All right, good to chat some hooker finally on the pod. Let's get down now to pod of the week, Dan. We've had Myth, he had Jeremiah Nanai. That's going to be hard to outdo. I'm not sure I can do any better there. Who's your pod of the week?
Would it surprise you for me to say Grant Anderson?
Don't start.
I haven't really thought of it at the moment, but I'll probably go Suafai Longo. In for a big game, hopefully this week, hopefully next week, absolutely towers up. 471K. I'm hoping he pushes, it's an absolute flyer, but he could push for that wing spot on the run home. So I'll go Fire Longo to go big over the next 2 weeks.
My pod of the week is our old favourite, young GI, Geramat Shibasaki. This man is on fire. He has gone 96, 61, 81, 74. Broncos, they're loving that left side. Him and Walsh have got a great connection. I just think he looks fantastic. Like pod, sort of 6, 7 centre wing. Once again, my usual caveats, I never ever buy my pod of the week. I don't know why, but I won't be buying young GI. I hope he goes well. He's great for content, and I love him. He is my pod of the week at 603K. I think he will out average his price tag for the run home, and he's a good play on matchups. So please go out and buy him. And I would love to hear anyone's stories. Any young GI owners, please get in touch with the show, and we will give you a shout out. We love young GI. We love young GI owners, and we love young GI shirts, which we have a few of. So please get in touch and give us your young GI stories. Dan, we'll save our captain chat for the Thursday Q&A pod because we've gone way over time here. But thank you to The Myth for joining us. Again, make sure you check out their content. Realm and Myth on the SC Hub Discord. They're great guys. They got a great little community going there, so check them out. Make sure you go to baller.live all weekend for your SuperCoach live action and your projections. They are the best projections in NRL SuperCoach, most accurate, essential for sit-start decisions, essential for captain options and trade targets. Dan, it's been a big show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, cheers, Matty. Thank you.
And anything to leave us on tonight, Danny boy?
Yo, day.